Welcome to the Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished, the leader and largest online marketplace for midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Hey guys, it's Kelly Bailey, your host of the Landlord Diaries, coming to you from the Austin, Texas area with a handful of midterm rentals. And how about you, my wonderful, beautiful co-host?
Well, hello. Kelly, I have my Phoebe Buffet voice on again today. If anyone doesn't understand that reference, please go to YouTube and search it where Phoebe is sick. She doesn't want to lose her voice because she likes it, but I could do without mine. Anyway, hey guys, I'm Katie. I have a handful of midterm rentals myself, and Kelly and I get to just talk to midterm rental landlords all the time and hear their stories and share them with you. Today we get to talk with Felicia. Felicia, we got to meet in person at the Midterm Rental Summit, and she just has this like glow around her. Like literally, it's just this aura of love and light and happiness, and she's just so happy to be wherever she is. And she has kind of dug in really deep and researched and come up with some ways that she teaches others to live smart and really find joy in their lives. And she's here to share a lot of those with us, and we have some kind of in-depth conversations about those. And it was a really great conversation just to talk about a little bit more of the mindset and learning as an adult, things like that. So I think everyone's going to really enjoy it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and rate us. Give us all your love. We put a lot of hard work and effort into this, and it's really just for you guys, the listeners. So let us know what you think.
Aloha, friends of the Landlord Diaries. Today we talk with Felicia Miller Johnson in Little Rock, Arkansas. We talk with her about her house hack, her entire home or room rental venture, and breaking news, she's added a duplex to her mix as well. Felicia encourages professionals to live smart, which we will discuss today in regards to life and midterm rentals. In addition, Felicia conducts LinkedIn live work-life video interviews with career professionals that become awe-intuitive conversation. Her videos are posted to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify. Thanks for being with us today. How are you, Felicia?
Aloha. I'm so excited to connect with y'all and loving the shirt.
Thank you. So you notice I greeted you guys a little differently today with aloha. Well, that happens to be because that is how Felicia typically will greet her friends and family and new people that she met. Katie and I had the privilege of meeting Felicia at the Midterm Rentals Summit, and it was so memorable because she said aloha. We took a picture with her. We had a great conversation with her, and it just made an impact. So why is aloha your choice greeting?
Yes, so I used to live in Hawaii. My dad was in the military, and so I've always just kind of maintained that Hawaiian vibe spirit. But where it really came into play was in my coaching in the philosophy of live smart. And one of those elements is to talk wisely. And when I moved to Arkansas, I asked Emmanuel, aka God, to tell me, how is it I'm supposed to serve and work? And he took me to an article that evaluated the states of happiness. And Hawaii was number one.
Oh.
And at the time, Arkansas was 49.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it was the philosophy of how you can impact somebody's life simply with one word. And so how that worked out is when you say aloha, usually people smile and they think about Hawaii and all that happiness that Hawaii shares. And so that's just the mentality philosophy that I adapted in that sense of just how I can just bring a smile to people's face simply with one word, and also get a story out of people like, oh yeah, I used to live in Hawaii, or I want to go there. And it's just a starting point for connecting and having a conversation with people.
Which island did you live on?
Oahu.
That's my favorite. I've been to a lot, but that one's my favorite. I just feel like it's very well rounded.
Yes, the big island. And so of course I'm not sure when the episode here will air, but definitely sending the aloha spirit vibes to those that have been impacted by the whole fires that have recently happened. Yeah,
So, Felicia, tell us before we get into your rentals and your journey as a landlord, tell us about your business because if I'm correct, that kind of came before your rentals, right?
it did. Yes. So I have a company called Sevenfold Coaching and
What's it called? Say it a little more clearly.
Sevenfold
Oh,
Coaching.
okay.
Yes. And so it was about connecting with individuals, helping them to live better lives. And, most people have heard the philosophy work smarter, not harder, but I believe in helping individuals to live smart, which means see yourself and awaken, master your emotions, ask, know, and receive, relax, relate, release, talk wisely, and ascend. And in the midst of all of kind of executive coaching, life coaching, and doing all that, the show All Intuitive Conversation came about where as a intuitive, I was hiding, so to speak, the whole spiritual aspect of myself. And I just thought I had to be this just career professional and that was it. And so I was guided to have conversations with individuals that help them to live smart and ascend to new levels of success. And that's how Our Intuitive Conversation has been born. So that's kind of like the main part of my business now.
Very
But
cool. And how did you end up in the 49th state on the happiness chart?
a man, my man.
That's good reason.
Yeah, so I used to work for the military and I met my loving husband, Trapper. He was in the army at the time, and I happened to drive by going to this flea market. 'Cause I was new to the area. I was going to decorate my house, apartment, and he was sitting out front. He honked his horn. I drove by. I just kind of threw my hand up, like, "Hey," and went inside. But I didn't stop. And then, y'all, he was literally in an all white car, dressed all white. So it was kind of like this whole, division, like, ooh. And he stepped out and he was like, "I know you heard me honking my horn at you." And I was like, "Well, what do I look like if you accidentally would honk your horn? I would have been looking stupid if I had stopped." And we've been together ever since.
That's awesome. I love that. All right. So, Felicia, now let's hear about your portfolio, how you ended up in real estate, how you came to have the properties you have, and your journey there.
Yep. So we really started because our parents, our mothers, Trevor and our mothers were kind of single mothers, and they were getting older. And he had the vision to say, well, at some point they're going to have to come live with us, right? And so we went out looking for houses that would accommodate all of our lifestyles, still giving them privacy, and we couldn't find it. So we wound up building onto our current home based on the whole philosophy of having a mother-in-law suite. And so we did that. And my mother came and lived with us for 8 years. And then she transitioned to move to Atlanta. And it was like, okay, we have this space. And so in that time, we have been watching your show and we have been hearing more about midterm rentals and all those different things. And we were like, okay, let's rent it out. But what we loved about Furnished Finders is that it gave us a market. Because before it was like, for me, I was like, I just don't want to be renting the place out to just anybody. But when we had the whole target market of nurses, it was like, oh, okay, professionals. And we're near hospitals. Because that's one thing about Arkansas, Little Rock. We got plenty of hospitals. And
That's
so
good.
it was just divine timing connection. And so we wound up renting out our, what's we call now, the mama approved ADU space
I love
to.
that title, by the way.
Thank you. And that was one of the things about our locations. They have a story, and that was a story. My mama lived there. She approved the place. And so that's what we just kind of stuck with. It was the mama approved ADU because safety, like our first tenant, like her mom came with her to see the place and she approved it, so that just really sealed the deal. It was like, yes, this is the mama approved ADU space. And so that was our first space. And then we bought and went fast. So then we went to the MTR Summit. And at that time, we just had that and didn't even have a tenant yet. So after that, we had a tenant. And then we purchased a single family home, which we call the Smart Soho Place. Got that within, the month. And then after that, we had the duplex that we rented out now, which is long-term tenants in that. So the Soho Place is rented out midterm as well. And then we have a duplex that is rented out to long-term tenants. So we technically have 4 doors.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's break into each one of those. So the house hack, how did you go about deciding how to add an addition to your home without affecting the resale value of it down the road? So give us a good picture of what the experience is like.
Yeah,
Or was it already there?
it wasn't because we added on to the home, but at that time it was no intent for an ADU. It was simply
Okay,
just to have a space for our mothers to live in and have still have their privacy, but then still be connected to us. And it's just when she moved out, it was just like, well, it's a whole kind of apartment over there. And
got it.
like at that time, we had been watching Furnished Finders, and it was like it just made
Makes
sense.
sense.
So it definitely has added, to our home because it looks like the rest of our house is just one
Yeah.
big house. But unless you come in, you wouldn't necessarily know that you can get to our house through the house on the inside because it also has its own
Yeah.
private entrance on the side as well. So.
And I believe it does not have a washer dryer or a dishwasher. So has that
Oh, it does now.
Oh, it does now?
Yeah, girl.
So we added
Nice.
the washer dryer. So that was the thing that we came to the whole solution. It does not have the dishwasher and it does not technically have a stove because in our neighborhood, when you built on, it was like at the time they weren't able to install a whole, stove kind of thing. But then we were like, okay, this is something after we had our first tenant in there, we were like, okay, how can we really even maximize the space? Because at the time, my mom would just walk over and wash her clothes, not a big deal. So then we found solutions to the washer and dryer stackable units. They're usually like in condos or, high rises or something like that, where you didn't have to have the dryer vent. So we just had a plumber, an electrician convert a unit to the 220 unit, and then they attached it to the sink and voila, wash and dry.
That's awesome. How much did the project, something like that, cost to install? Roughly. And if you don't know, that's okay
Yeah,
too.
no, like nothing. That was like less than 1,000.
Nice. Awesome.
And we bought the unit. So when we first priced the units, as people for to know to really look at the sales, we first priced the unit. It was 1,900 or something like that for the stackable units. They were basically like $900. I mean, $1,900 like a piece. And when we went back in there, it was over a holiday. It was a Memorial Day holiday weekend. And we went in, we're like, okay, we're ready to do this, to purchase it. And it was half the price.
Well, that timing worked out well.
Yep. I love
Divine
those sales on
indeed.
appliances.
And
Love
we
some
kept
holiday
checking.
appliances.
Yeah, because we kept checking. It's like, is that right? Because I was doing it from my memory. And Trafford takes pictures of like everything. He was like, let me go back. And so we took a picture of the tag and he was like, yeah, it was.
Okay. So that's the house hack. So cool. Y'all have done a great job with that. I love how it was originally designed and intended for one use, and then you take that and you figure out, well, how can we make this an asset in our home? And what a great solution with traveling medical professionals. So now you've added your 3-bedroom, 1-bath that's also near a hospital. Tell us about that rental, why you chose it, and how it's doing.
Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Furnished Finder, the ultimate platform for hassle-free midterm rentals. Whether you're a seasoned landlord or just getting started, Furnished Finder has everything you need to find your next tenant. With Furnished Finder, you can say goodbye to booking fees, markups, and commissions, and hello to direct bookings. If you're ready to experience all the benefits renting your property for 30 days or more, head over to furnishedfinder.com where you can list your property for one low annual price. We make it easy to get started.
Well, one of the key factors, we had already been looking for properties for quite a while. And when we went to that unit, I just had this intuitive feeling like this is the one. It was a good price. It had already been remodeled, but not so much to the point where it would not make financial sense in order to do the whole midterm rental. And we just said, okay, this is the one. And we bought it. And like I said, by that time we had gone to the MTR summit, knew what the guidance was going to be. And so we had put it out there for the rental. And that's the one that we call the smart boho place, because I had decorated in the whole boho style, meaning I could mix match furniture, like and give it that nice comfort, cozy feeling. And also that location was very suited for it. Had a nice backyard. We said, hey, this is the home that could also be pet friendly. And so that's how we kind of, advertised it. And so it rented. But interestingly enough, it wasn't to the nurses, which exposed us to a whole nother market of individuals that were renting it. So like right now, because we had the tornado that impacted Little Rock, we had contractors that are doing security for different locations here in the order at the construction sites that needed a place, and that's who rented the whole house out from us.
I think that makes sense since it's a 3-bedroom, right? It's a little bit of a larger property. A lot of times, we talk a lot about diversity of tenants here, how there's all sorts of different tenant types looking for midterm rentals. And I think traditionally, the larger your property, maybe the less nurses you might get. I mean, that's definitely a generalized statement, but a lot of nurses travel solo or in pairs. So once you get to 3, 4, 5 bedroom, I know, Kelly, you've had a really good variety of tenants because your properties are all a little bit larger. So I think that's a really good kind of case study showing that it's not just all about travel nurses. They're a really good base and a foundation. But there's a lot of people that are looking for midterm rentals and a stay that's, 30 days or more. So I think that's great.
Yeah. And that's also they've been well received in the neighborhood as well, because, they do security.
Good.
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And they need a good, safe place to stay too, right?
Yes, they do.
All right, great. So Felicia, let's dig into kind of like your heart and soul, and let's talk about this work smart kind of concepts and ideas that you have, and what can you share with our audience maybe about, some basics there?
Like I was saying before, it really was a philosophy of I always would be focused on just working, working, working. I was a human doing versus a human being. And so initially what caught my attention was that, okay, Felicia, how can you work smarter, not harder? But then there was a moment where I was living in Arkansas and I was a little frustrated at the time because it wasn't where I thought my life was going to be in the vision. I initially thought I was going to have like this marketing career in New York, live in Jersey. That was going to be my life. But when I got the sign that, hey, I'm here to help encourage other individuals on their journey to ascend to higher levels of success, and figuring out, people use the word work-life balance, whatever that means for you, but basically just living life on your terms. And so that just kind of played into the whole real estate as well, because of course people are living in our homes. So combine that with the whole aloha, when people go to Hawaii and they tourist and they're welcoming, like we wanted to run our business as well with the whole aloha spirit. So it really is a lifestyle, and then just a reminder of, yeah, you can work hard or you can work smarter, but ultimately let's get you to live smart.
Let's take each piece and break it down at the midterm level. Like, what advice you have for someone that doesn't feel like they're living very smart right now and wants to. So the see yourself, we've got an acronym here, the SMART. So let's start with the S, see yourself and awaken. How can a midterm rental host do that well in their business?
Yeah. First, understanding what your goal is. Like, who are you? What is important to you? What are your values? You got to know who you are in order to be able to live in this world and connect well with others. So you have to awaken to that. So that may, like, for example, one of the things that I've learned over time is even starting with your name. Like, for example, Felicia means happy. A lot of times individuals, they do that whole bye Felicia thing. But there was a moment that used to irk me, because if you've ever seen that movie, Felicia's like this whole crackhead, and basically by Felicia, they're dismissing her. And so I had to learn more about, okay, well, who is Felicia? And I said, no, my name means happy, joy. And that's the life that I want to live. So I would say, for first off, for individuals of just unsure what they want to do and explore this whole midterm thing, start with who you are. Look up your name, Google it. Like, what does your name mean? Start from there. And then how do those traits relate to your day-to-day life? So awaken to who you are. That's where you can start first.
And we never do this, but I love that question and I love this conversation. So if you do take that moment and look up your name and do want to express how it affects your life and your midterm rental business, share it in the comments on YouTube. We would love to hear your opinions on how you're seeing yourself awaken through researching your name. That would be really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so the next thing you talk about is master your emotions. So tell us what that means and then how that can help people live smart.
Yes. So master your emotions, first starting off of just even knowing what your emotions are. For me, coming from a military background, I would squash my emotions all the time. It was literally just put the flag on up on the hill, get the job done, move forward. But I really was not tapping into those emotions. And that means understanding, are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you jealous? Like I said, you see somebody else doing the MTR type, summary, and they're going on all these luxury vacations, and how are they affording to do that? Put a name to your actual emotions. Because then once you know that, like in this moment, I am jealous. What are you jealous about? That I can see them, that they're doing all these things. They have this financial freedom and can do all those different things. That taps back to the whole see and awaken. What is it that you really want in your life? So as you master your emotions, putting a name to it and understanding more about what your goals are.
And where do you take it from there? What's one emotion that you named, and how did you overcome it?
Envy. And that would be the one where you would, you can scroll through, aka social media, and you seeing someone do that. Or as a career, you're like, what the heck? They have the success and the acknowledgement. They've gotten all these different likes. Like, well, what are you doing, Felicia, that's not in alignment with that? And what that really was just meaning is that that's something that I wanted, was success, but wanting success on my terms. I don't want to have to work, quote unquote, 80 hours, not see my husband, my kids, and all those different things. It's like I don't want it on that terms. So that's where I again connects back to that. I had to see myself and awaken and figure out, well, what is the goal that you really want? And then work towards that.
So this seems like kind of a process where you can't really move on to the next step until you master the first, because they rely on each other to
They
grow.
all rely on each
Mhm.
other. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of similar to real estate, right? Because you can't really rent out a unit until you have a unit. You can't be great at tenant management until you have tenants, things like that. So I
Exactly.
also kind of like and appreciate the parallels there as well. So okay, so we have see yourself and awaken, which is really like you said about self-awareness, understanding what you want, what kind of life you want, master your emotions. So being, in tune there. And then we have ask, know, and receive. So tell us what you mean by that one.
So that one comes into play because there are individuals that, do they even know what they want? Are they afraid to even ask for it? So if you go to someone and you say, okay, yeah, I want this lifestyle, this MTR, this home, ask someone, like, how did they get this? Right? Then once you get this kind of information, then you have to know. This also is believe. Do you believe that you can have a unit and have this financial freedom of this lifestyle? And then the receive, being open to receiving. Lots of times we can ask for something and know it, but then we do all these different things to block the reception of that. So it's just simply a reminder of ask, know, and receive. Ask, yes, I would like to have XYZ. Know that you can have XYZ. Then that opens you to receive XYZ.
I like that. I think if you never have the courage to say, like, yes, I believe this can happen, or this can be my truth, or this can be my story, my journey, however you want to phrase it, if you don't have the courage to ever ask for it, right? But if you really never, like, in the back of your mind, like, really wholeheartedly believe it, like you're going to have a really hard time making that come true. And I think this is probably the point where a lot of people get stuck. And I would say, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think, especially as adults, I was actually talking to my mom about this the other day because when you're a kid, you have teachers and you have coaches and you have your parents, and they're helping you through, like, oh, you want this? And then a challenge comes up and you see a kid maybe get a little deflated or hit a wall, and you talk to them through it. And it's a coaching relationship all through childhood, hopefully, if you have a good childhood. But then as adults, we're just kind of said a lot of the times, like, okay, go figure it out. Right.
Right.
And you don't have anyone to kind of help you get in that right frame of mind or believe the things that you really want to be reality. But without that belief, you're never going to get there. Right.
Right, right. And it goes back to, like you just said, great example of the ask. Like, so when you were in school, you had the teacher, if you need help, what did your parents say? Did you ask your teacher for
Right.
help? Then all of a sudden
Right.
we become adults and we don't want to ask because we're afraid to feel dumb. We're supposed to know that or
Yeah.
situation. And that's like, one of the things that I love about my daughter is, like, if she don't know something, she makes no pretense. She will ask, like, well, what does that mean?
Hey landlords, are you ready to level up your rental game and simplify your midterm rental business? Well, get ready to meet your new best friend, KeyCheck. KeyCheck is your all-in-one solution for stress-free property management. With tenant-paid screenings, online rent payment processing, custom lease creation, and a suite of incredible landlord tools, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. No more chasing down checks or sifting through piles of applications. KeyCheck helps you organize and manage all things landlording in a simple and efficient way. Make landlord life a breeze with KeyCheck, the game changer for modern property owners. Visit keycheck.com to unlock the power of stress-free property management and take your rental business to new heights.
Kids, they're always asking why, they're always asking how, they're always inquisitive and they have no shame in it. And then as adults, we're like, oh, we're supposed to know everything. And I've even found that one of the most powerful things in whether it's business or your personal life or growing a real estate portfolio is, like, no matter who you're working with, a boss, a coworker, a realtor, another investor, like, hey, I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain it to me? Like I'm a kindergartner. And all of a sudden that shield of, like, I don't know, everyone trying to be someone else or impress
Mm-hmm.
everyone, the screen just drops and it's like, okay, it's just you and me here. Like, can you
Yes,
tell me what
yes.
this means? And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're all just large children.
Exactly.
That's one thing I've learned about myself, just through the journey of work-life balance is I've always worked for as a career, for someone. And then I took a year off to try to figure out, did I want to do something different? And I hated it. I was like the worst version of myself. I was like like a lump, just like at home, depressed. And so I realized I have the most joy when I am able to roll up to someone and feel like I'm supporting and helping them. So Katie's my boss, and I love it because it's like, in general, we take this. I run the podcast. But if I need help, she's there. So it's like, "Katie, what do you think about this?" It's like, "Girl, I got that. Like, let's do this." I'm like, "Thank you." And that gives me that peace of mind. And I think that's the piece that I feel is missing in my midterm rental business is Dave and I are the boss, right? But neither of us really like to be the boss. I think he's still figuring that out. Like, I know I like to roll up to people, so that's an interesting concept. And Katie, I'm dropping this now. I was like, maybe Dave and I could roll up to Katie in midterm rentals as well. I was like, we got some money. We could like partner on some deals. Like partnerships are cool.
I'm open to wherever life takes me. If there's something that I've learned from the past, I don't know how many months now, right? But, like, it's that we're all set. All of us, when we get out of college or enter the real world or whatever it is, like, what's your 5-year plan? And it's like, that is the biggest waste of time because I don't know. And we now have 8 rentals. And that to me is bananas because 2 years ago we had 1. And it was our old house that we lived in. So it was the easiest rental in the world because if the tenants called me and they're like, oh, X, Y, and Z stopped working. I'm like, okay, go push this button, that, and that. I lived there for 5 years, right? It's so like, but now I'm like, how? And like, you could have sat me down and said, Katie, what is the most wild situation you can picture for your life in only 2 years? And never in a million years would I've thought that I am where I am today. So it's like, you have to be open to kind of where life is going to take you as well, and partnerships and different chances, because if you're not open, there might be opportunities that literally are put right in front of you that you just are completely closed off to and you don't see.
Yes. What is one of my favorite quotes is from Winston Churchill, and basically the concept of it is what a shame it would be is that when that perfect opportunity literally taps you on the shoulder and you're unprepared for that moment.
Yeah, or you're not open-minded. You're not okay with just trying it, because when we're kids, you try soccer for 6 weeks. You might try gymnastics for 6 weeks. You might try chess club for 6 weeks. And if you don't like it, it's no harm, no foul. When we're adults, we go, oh man, that didn't work out. What a failure. And it's like, that doesn't have to be the situation, right? We can try things on just like we did when we were kids. So I think you got some really good points there. This is aligning with things that obviously Kelly and I have been thinking about. So,
Yes, and see,
okay.
that's what I love about that. See, so you have awakened to some new opportunities.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. Next, we have relax, relate, and release.
Yes.
I like
So
anything that has the word relax in it. Thank you.
Ew.
Kelly and I are like, great. Felicia, you take over. We'll just sit back here and relax.
yes. Well, the thing about that message came through me. Shout out to A Different World. This was an episode where the character Whitley was going to counseling, and that connects back to kind of the first thing of asking for help, right? And it was just, okay, what are the things that are happening in my life? Understanding that, how is it all related? And what do I need to release? So now we're going back to the whole Hawaii spirit, because the way that I would do that is a meditation called Ho'oponopono, which means I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Because there is some stuff holding on from childhood, or like especially like if you're married, you had some arguments, relationship, and all that stuff is just built up and it's just causing your emotions, right, to get all out of whack. And it comes a time like, okay, how can I, just relax, meditate, release, and release those things that are no longer serving me. And so that's what that is about. Because there are sometimes, you have some things, like I said, let's just say there's an apartment, like, or in a house that you had, and it's no longer just part of your, like, you're like, I just want to just release this. This is no longer where we want to go with this property or something like that. And just being able to say, okay, I appreciate how it served our family or our situation in the past, but now I'm ready to release. So what? I can't go back to the ask and receive something new.
I love that.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've reached the last and final step of
Yeah.
the process. Talk wisely and ascend. Tell us about that.
Yes, so this is a big one. So this one's a shout out to my Star Wars fans. It's definitely the school of Yoda. And so one of the things is that, what are the words are you saying out loud into yourself? Imposter syndrome is something that was impacting me, of thinking you always had to be twice as good as an African American female, that you had to be twice as good in order to succeed as well as everyone else. And so I was saying all these things, you got to do that, you got to do this, or you're not good enough. And it's like, you know what, enough of that. So as the school of soda, it says it's trying. It's not trying, it's do or do not. And I was led to look up the word trying. And for those, again, here's another assignment for you. Google the word definition of trying. And it literally means difficult, hard to endure. Now put that in front of whatever you're wanting to do. I'm trying to buy this duplex. I'm trying to buy this new house. I'm trying to do house hacking. You're already speaking struggle into
Right.
your situation. It's like it doesn't even feel good. Another word could be like, I should do this. I should go and, look at some listings or something like that. It doesn't feel good. So it's just a reminder to change your vocabulary, because that brings us right back. One word, aloha, can change your whole energetic vibe.
That's I love that concept, because even when you think of relating to those that you could mentor, example, like a parent to a kid, you've got, I have a friend of mine that said, I was reading this book and I realized every time I was introducing my daughter and saying, "Oh, she's shy." Well, then I'm speaking that over her. Like, she's likely going to become shy because I'm telling her she's shy. And I thought that was like so simple and brilliant. Like, speak over people what you want them to be, not necessarily what they currently are. And Dave and I, one thing that we try to ask ourselves often is, are we building each other up or tearing each other down? And I think that relates heavily to business as well, because when it comes to your cleaners, well, we have to be very detailed to get 5-star reviews, right? When
Mm-hmm.
it comes to your contractors, maybe they didn't communicate it as clearly as you expected on how the project was going to go in every little piece. It's like we have to carry those mindsets into every aspect of our life and business. Like, how do I build this person up while we're doing business together versus tearing them down? So I love, man, I love this conversation about Live Smart. I didn't know where it was going to go, but this has been awesome.
I think this is so good too, because I talk to a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I would love to have a rental, or oh well, that'd be so cool. And it's like, it would, like, you could go do it. And they're like, oh, and there's a bunch of reasons, but it's also like, just try. Just try. And you don't have to go buy a 55 unit portfolio. Just try one little step and see how it goes. Because again, circling back to kids, that's what we tell kids, right? We don't tell kids, oh, you think you would like soccer? Let's sign you up for a 10-year contract and you have to go to practices 4 times a week. We say, hey, let's try a class at the rec center, right? We start them little, but then as adults, we have this expectation of ourselves that, oh, okay, we think we want to do this. Well, clearly, we have to do it perfect and huge and enormous the very first time, and we have to do it perfectly. It's like, no, let's parent ourselves a little bit, right?
Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
for sure. Well, Katie, I just have one more two-part question to wrap us up. Anything that you'd like to ask before we wrap up with the last
No,
question?
let's hear it, Cal.
Okay, so this is two-part.
Okay.
Felicia, if you love the way Felicia's been communicating, you think, she is a great coach, then reminder, you can go to LinkedIn and she has live sessions with business professionals that just kind of get to work through, what's bubbling up on the surface of their life. And I think it's weekly, correct? Okay, so it's weekly. So just stay tuned on her LinkedIn channel, and you'll see it pop up in your notifications. But here's my two-part question. So you use cards in your show. So I want you to be able to speak to those cards, because we've got, really, it's kind of like politics. You've got two ends of the spectrum where some people are like, ooh, I like that spirit realm. Let's dive in. And other people are like, that's getting a little too magical for me over there.
Yep.
So what is the purpose of why you use the cards as part of your presentation, not presentation, but as part
Yeah.
of your
The conversation. Uh-huh.
communication, right? Intuitive conversation. And then wrap us up by telling Philip Jones' story.
Yes. So the reason for the cars, having, living in the Bible Belt and growing up from a Christian experience, and I was right there, like, no, just you're not supposed to kind of do this. So the example I would give is that, how many times have you heard people say, make a vision board?
So, oh my
A
gosh.
lot.
Yeah.
And what do you use on vision boards?
Pictures,
Markers.
magazines.
Pictures. right? And so it's simply a tool to help individuals to be able to see certain things. Like, so when I'm having a conversation with someone, they're already thinking something, and then it's literally just bringing a picture that I can hold up that people are like, oh yes, I can align with that. Oh yes, like it accesses another part of our brains that contributes to the conversation. And so that was simply what it was just a tool. Simply is that, is a visual. And as people would say, well, you're diving into something different, or, all those different things. Yes, there are individuals out there, they may be on the dark side and all that. That's not how I
The
work.
dark side. Oh
The
my
dark
gosh,
side,
I love it.
exactly. Like I work on the light side. I acknowledge that, but that's in anything that we do. So let's even take it to home stuff. You have a tool of a hammer. You can take that hammer, make repairs on your rental properties, build a home, protection, all those different things. You can take that same hammer and go and harm someone with that, killing them.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the tool, it's the person that is using the tool.
Yep.
And so that is the way that came out, because like I said, I use angel cards, I use cards that have scriptures on them. And so it's the judgment. You have to realize, what is it, going back to the emotions, what is it, the feeling, the judgment or the programming you may have had that said that there was something wrong with that. And so one of the things that brings us to the connection of Philip. Philip was a guest on my show. And as you said earlier, there is a waiting list of usually of like 6 months to be a guest on the show. And Philip came to me. We were supposed to do it like 2 days, and he was like, "Hey, can we push my data? I'm going into the hospital." And I was like, "Oh," because he was like, "Well, no." First, he was saying that he was going to do the show while he was in his hospital, and I was like, "No, let's not do that." I was like, "We could just do it earlier." So we did it earlier, and we had our conversation, and the next day he was going into the hospital. And during our conversation, it came up about cards, like with a woman holding a heart. He got scriptures encouraging him on that journey. He even got a card that had the Master of Jesus that was touching his heart. And it was just encouraging, like, hey, you're going to be at peace, and everything is going to be okay. And then I do clips of the show, and I phrase his clip, "The Heart for Second Chances." And I hadn't heard anything from Philip. I was just like, "Hey, how did your surgery, go and everything?" And it was just really quiet. And then recently, there was finally a post from another organization that indicated that Philip had died. And come to find out that my show was the last show that he had done, as an interview. And it was just the whole impact of just saying like how you can connect with someone. And it was for the heart about second chances, and the message that he had simply shared. It was just really an encouragement of just like, he was meant to have that conversation with me before he went and had that surgery, and to share the words that he needed to share. And so so that episode will always just kind of stand out. But again, it was just a tool just to read him the message that Jesus was with him, and that evidently they were going to meet a little sooner than.
And I didn't remember all the details of Philip's story. I remembered it being impactful. So thank you for sharing that. Do we know if he was an organ donor, or if someone else got his heart or anything like that?
So I'm not exactly sure of the details, because like I said, he was a kidney recipient. That was his
Okay.
first surgery when he was earlier, but he was going in for a heart
Uh-huh.
transplant. So I'm not sure of the details, if it didn't take or what the case may have been.
Uh-huh.
But clearly he supported that whole organization. And it was actually the kidney transplant organization that had posted how they were, he was such a supporter of their organization, and that he had passed away. Yeah.
Well, I think it's amazing how far that you've taken your passion and spread it so far, and are helping so many other people with your messages. And you're also clearly breathing and doing the things that you're teaching, which is, I think, just critical in these days because we get overwhelmed with so much content and so many messages that, to hear from someone who is talking about these things, but also living them in a way where you have stories like that to share, I think is very uniquely powerful. So kudos on that. And please keep doing what you're doing because it's incredible. And Kelly and I'm going to speak for Kelly here too, but we love it when we just see people who are doing what they are here meant to be doing. And I think you're letting no one stop you from doing what you are here to do. And that's pretty great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate both of you for this opportunity to connect, and like I said, as I tell people, for just being open to having the conversation, because I know that was something that Kelly and I had talked about. So thank you for being open to even allow me to share.
Yeah. We feel privileged that your journey crossed with midterm rentals so that we could share your journey or your story today. And quick little insert. If you have a story to tell and you would like to be a guest on our show, our one requirement is that you're a Furnished Finder host. And then we talk with you from there and figure out if it would be a good fit for you to share your story on the Landlord Diaries. So if that's something you're interested in, go to furnishedfinder.com, and then under resources, we actually have Landlord Diaries tab where you can go and submit your details and we can follow up with you. I do still recommend for now, stick with your normal channels of watching it on, YouTube or audio platforms, because you'll get those notifications of ding, hey, you've got a new episode from the Landlord Diaries. And, we're just here to tell so many different stories. And we just thank you, Felicia, for sharing yours today. So let's end with aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha.